My name is Bob Dittmer, and welcome to Explorations in Public Relations. This short series of videos will spend some time illuminating and exploring the profession and practice of public relations in America. We hope that you enjoy this program and succeeding programs as we bring them to you. Today's program features Julie Vincent, APR. Julie comes to the faculty here at Indiana University, Indianapolis with 30 years of experience in corporate public relations, nonprofit public relations, and agency work. Julie, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Bob. It's really a pleasure to be here.
Wonderful. Let's take a few minutes to explore what this thing called public relations actually is.
Well, there are a lot of definitions out there, but the one that I really like to use is we help build, develop, identify, and then maintain relationships between organizations and the publics that are very important to them.
Well, that sounds pretty straightforward. Julie, as you know, our profession is a relatively new one in America, but it does stem from the early part of the 20th century with the developments brought to us by Ivy Lee and especially Edward Bernays. But public relations is often misunderstood. Can you help us try to understand the differences between public relations, marketing, and advertising?
That's the $64,000 question. Advertising, in my mind and in most people's minds, sustains a brand. But you can't sustain a brand unless a brand has been built in the first place, which is what PR does. Advertising then sustains the brand, PR builds it. You know, it's a chicken and egg kind of thing, but the brand has to be there first. As far as marketing goes, marketing is really about products and services and getting those products and services bought and sold. PR then helps that in that way too, because it builds the goodwill between the organization who has the products and services and the publics out there who might want to buy them.
Well, that makes perfect sense. Thank you. That's a pretty clear explanation of what public relations is. Now, can you help us understand what public relations people or professionals actually do?
That may be a little more challenging. Public relations professionals can find themselves doing a little bit of everything. Now, in the purest sense of the word, they ought to be understanding a need, researching that need, developing goals and objectives, deciding what key audiences there are and what key messages those target audiences need to hear. They also need to understand how to implement tactics and then go back and measure them. I mean, in the purest sense, that's what public relations people do. Now, you know, out in the real world, what do they do? That and a little bit of a lot of other things too.
Julie, given that that's what public relations is and what public relations people do, what kind of jobs can someone coming out of a university with preparation to work in public relations get, and what would they do in those jobs?
There's some really exciting jobs, especially right out of college. They can be anything from an internal communications specialist where you work on the intranet, maybe you're the editor of the intranet, or an online e-newsletter, or you just work in other ways to communicate with internal publics. You could be media relations and work with external audiences, work with media training, sustain those relationships with reporters. And of course, today you really have something to hang your hat on if you are an expert in social media, because corporations, not-for-profits, really everybody's trying to figure out how to best maximize that whole social media space for their needs. And I think the people of today coming out of colleges have that kind of built into their lives already, where you and I have had to go back and learn it.
We sure have, haven't we? Yeah, that's true. Julie, sometimes people have gained a negative perception of public relations. Why do you think that is?
I think the biggest reason is that people don't know how to define what it is. And so, you know, if there's some bad apple on TV who says something that rubs people the wrong way and they get labeled as a PR guy or PR gal, I think that hurts all of us. A truly trained PR professional is someone who handles something very well, and it's something to be very proud of. We have a term, you know, that we don't say around here. You know, no one who says the S word admitted beyond this door, and the S word isn't the one you're thinking. It's spin, and we don't really buy into the idea that you have to spin anything. It is what it is, and it's our job to create an atmosphere where it's presented correctly. So every industry has a bad apple, but I think just because people don't always understand what public relations can do, then we're often misunderstood.
And of course, we do teach people that spin is a four-letter word, and if you're spinning, you're lying.
That's absolutely correct.
Yeah, absolutely. Julie, what do you see for the future of public relations? What will it look like? What will we be doing?
Well, for one thing, I'm really excited about public relations going forward, because what you're finding is a lot of the journalism jobs we grew up with are going away, which, we have a lot of people with really, really great skills who are turning those into public relations aspirations. There are other companies and not-for-profits now who I think every day are understanding better and better the role public relations can play for them and for their well-being. And it's also, in times like these that are economically challenging, there's a lot of things that public relations can provide at a lesser expense than, say, advertising, and especially in the social media space. I think that's the thing that public relations is starting to own. People naturally see it residing in a public relations or corporate communications department going forward as opposed to in marketing, and that's a real win-win for PR, as long as we handle it correctly.
Indeed, that whole social media arena is really about relationships, isn't it?
It absolutely is, and the do's and don'ts and the rules of engagement. And that's what PR is all about, is building those relationships, understanding what target audiences need to hear and how they need to be treated. And that's not selling product, that's selling reputation and relationships.
Good point, good point. Julie, thank you for joining us on Explorations in Public Relations today.
Thank you for having me.
And we hope that you enjoyed this particular program of Explorations in Public Relations, and we hope that it helped you understand public relations just a little bit more clearly. We'll bring you more programs like this in the future, so please stay tuned and join us. I'm Bob Dittmer. Thank you for joining us with Explorations in Public Relations.